Welcome to Stellar Sisters, the podcast where cosmic wisdom meets soul-enriching conversation.
We explore astrology, human design, and the unique blueprint of your soul, helping you understand yourself on a deeper level.
Consider this your permission slip to embrace the magic of being authentically you.
Let's begin.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Stellar Sisters. I'm Chanel, your host for all things astrology.
And I'm Sydney, host for all things human design.
And today's episode is actually a special request by me. I asked Sydney to kind of record a podcast all on the profile numbers in human design. Because really, since we've been doing this podcast, I've just been so fascinated with human design and really diving into it more. And I've known about human design for years now and have known about it, but really since diving into it more deeply with Sydney, I am just like fascinated by how accurate it is and just meditating on it a little bit deeper and how much I resonate with every part of it and all aspects of it. And so I'm a 5-1 profile in human design. So your profile numbers are, that those two numbers that kind of come before your design type. And I texted Sydney and I was like, oh my God, I am such a 5, And I've been looking up everybody's profile numbers that I know and be like, oh my God, yeah, like they're such a 4 line, and it's just like so interesting and fascinating to me. So I thought it would be a really cool episode to just dive into those profile numbers a little bit more deeply, and really kind of, if you're listening, just really start to soak it in and just think about it and think about your own profile numbers and maybe look up the profile numbers of your friends and family and loved ones and just like meditate on it a little bit. And you will be able to see these traits, I think, um, in other people that you know. So it's so fascinating to me. And I'm really excited to dive into that and get into it more. So, Sid, what do you think about the profile numbers?
I love profile numbers. And I just want to say before I forget, if you don't know how to look up your chart, you can go to our website, stellarsisterspodcast.com, and it's right at the top. You can click create my chart, and you can do it for free. And you can look up anybody's chart. It's not just a one chart and then it's all free. You can look up your kids' charts, your partner's charts, anybody in your family's charts. Just type in your email address. You don't have to put in their email addresses and look them up, and it'll easily tell you. It'll say profile to give you the 2 numbers. You don't have to know where to find the numbers. So it'll tell you right away what they are. So use that tool because it, just like Chanel just said, it's so much fun to look up just that specifically about people around you and how they interact, and you'll be able to hear some things about each number.
Yeah.
And the profile lines are it's your personality archetype, and it's just such a huge part of your design. And it's something that's actually really felt by yourself and by others. So, just like you can sometimes feel when someone's a projector or manifesting generator, like you can feel that energy from them. That's more so like, yes, you can feel that, but it's more so on an unconscious level. And the profile numbers is much more conscious. So if you know a lot about human design, you can sometimes guess what if somebody has a 4 line or a 1 line. You're like, I feel like that person definitely has a 2 line.
That happened to me yesterday. Like I was thinking about this person and I was like, they have to be a 4 line because they're so good at just like connecting with people and creating community. And I looked up their profile and they're a 4-6. I'm like, of course they're a 4-6. Like I could tell.
Yeah.
And
I know
it was so interesting.
Yeah. I know you're just like, you have this
Yeah.
feeling, you look up the chart and it's like validating and you're like, yes, I knew it. I knew they had one of those numbers in there. So yeah, it's just hilarious how that happens. Um,
Yeah.
but it really tells you a lot about your own self too and how you experience yourself. There's 12 different combinations and they're each made up of the two numbers and it's coming from your sun gates. So the decimal point number that's after the sun gates is where the profile numbers are coming from. So the conscious side and the subconscious side or unconscious side. And the first number is the conscious side. So, Chanel's a 5-1. That's the first number is her conscious side. It's more so how you see yourself, how you experience yourself. And then the second number, her 1 line, is the unconscious side. So it's how other people more so can see you. And you might resonate a little bit less with the second number. It's just how other people more so experience you in that way. But if you resonate with both numbers, like that's great. Like I resonate really with both my numbers. I'm a 6-2, and I'd say I even sometimes resonate more with the 2. So there's nothing wrong with you if you resonate with both. It's just usually you might resonate with that first number a bit more, and then other people might resonate or see you as that second number. And another thing that I think is really interesting is if you think, so the numbers are the 6 lines of a hexagram. So there's 6 lines in that little like rectangle square, right? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. So it goes from 1 to 6, from the bottom 1 all the way to the top is 6. So the lower trigram numbers, the 1 through 3, the 1 line, the 2 line, and the 3 line, that's how you learn and how you take in information, how you integrate information. Just kind of your internal process and how you absorb life and information. And then the upper trigram numbers, 4, 5, and 6, those tell you more so how you externalize, how you teach, how you share, how you express, and how you connect with others and build relationships.
Wait, what is the hexagram? Can you just explain that a little bit for people
So,
who might not know?
yep. So the hexagram um, on the Rave mandala, there's 64 of them. And if you remember from the chart, there's 64 hexagrams that go around the big Rave mandala, and each one is made up of yin and yang energy. So you'll see like the straight lines and then the split lines. So there's 64 combinations, and you'll see them around the chart, which then make each gate in human design.
Okay.
And
It's
then
very intricate and very complex.
yes.
And if you do pull it up on our website, you can like pull up that Rave
Yeah,
mandala and
you
all of
can see
that.
that, but you don't
But
need to know that.
yeah, you don't need to know like all of
Yeah,
that to understand this though.
right. Yeah, we don't need to get into the very technical mechanics, but yeah, so maybe this is a better way to explain it. The sun and every single planet, but think of the sun as it goes through every single astrology sign, it goes through every single gate, and each gate has 6 lines. So, like 17.1, it's going through the first line of the hexagram. Does that make
Gotcha.
sense?
Okay. Yes. And 17.2 would be second,
Yeah.
17.3. Okay. And those
Yeah.
numbers are on your human design chart when you pull it up.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, another really cool thing to look at, especially with yourself and with others, is certain lines are harmonious and then other lines are contrasting. So the 1 and the 4 are harmonious, the 2 and the 5 are harmonious, and the 3 and the 6 are harmonious. So you could be a 2-5 or a 6-3 or a 4-1, and you have more of a harmonious profile. But what is fascinating is that those are more uncommon profile types than like the 2-4, the 3-5, the 6-2. Those are much more common numbers that you'll see in people. And if you are like a 2-4, that's a really contrasting profile. And I'll get into what they mean in a second. But like the 2 is more so wanting alone time, wants to hermit away. The 4 really wants to get out and connect with people in an intimate way. So you have these two polarities going on.
Mm.
Um, Whereas a 2-5, they both have this projection field, and they don't want to connect more in that intimate way like the 4 does. So the 2 is just more harmonious with the 5. But what is awesome is you can look at what your partner's numbers are versus yours and just see, like, do you have harmony there, or is it completely contrasting? And neither one is good or bad. It just kind of tells you more about your relationship and how you interact with each other. And like Chanel's a 5-1, her partner is a 5-2. So they have that commonality with the 5. And like my partner's a 3-5, I'm a 6-2. So his 3 is harmonious with my 6, and his 5 is harmonious with my 2. So we have a lot of harmony going on there.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you're contrasting, that doesn't mean that you are doomed. It doesn't mean that it's
No,
not going to work. It
absolutely
just
not.
can speak to maybe differences between the two of you, just
Yeah.
like in astrology, like, I'm a Libra and my partner's a Scorpio sun, and those aren't traditionally compatible, but we all know compatibility isn't just about the sun sign and it's not just about your profile numbers. It's very deep and complex, but um, that is interesting to know,
Hmm.
and just help you understand each other better. So if you're contrasting, it doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. It
Right.
can just really help you understand your partner or whoever you're talking about more deeply, you know.
Hmm.
And human design has totally done that for me, for sure.
Hmm. Yes. Yes, exactly. So one other thing before I get into all the lines and what they mean, just to note, I don't love some of the names for the profile lines. And human design in general has a lot of strange and unusual names. And that's because that information was channeled by Ra Ruhu from a higher consciousness, right? So a lot of words can sometimes get lost in translation, and it's coming from this super enlightened perspective. So, just remember that. It doesn't always come through clearly. You might not resonate with every single word. I don't like what is I'll get into it in a second, but what does heretic and martyr even mean? Like do not resonate with those. My teachers taught me a couple different things that they like to call the different profile numbers, and I'm going to tell you those as well because they're just so much more resonant for me than like the opportunist. So I just want to say that like it's coming channeled from this enlightened source, and it was channeled back in the late 80s, and we're so much different now. So some of the languaging just doesn't hit home sometimes.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And if you are listening to this and curious about what Sydney means by this was channeled and all of that, she does have a whole episode on like the basics and origin of human design. I believe it's our second episode. So you can go listen to that if you are curious. It's super fascinating. It's a very fascinating story. Highly recommend that episode. But anyway.
Okay, so let's start with line 1. Line 1 is called the investigator, which I do like that name. So anybody with a line 1 doesn't have to be the first one or the second number. Anybody that has a 1-3, a 1-4, a 4-1, or a 5-1. So Chanel has the 1.
Yes, I'm
And
listening.
yeah, and I want to get her perspective on the line 1 and how it's showed up in her life. The line 1 is the knowledge seeker. They're curious. They want to know all the details about things. They want to collect all of the information. They're looking for facts, like using kind of life's library and pooling every single fact and existing knowledge that's already there. They want to consume all of that information. They like the process of studying. They're the person that wants to read 5 books on the topic and listen to a podcast and then watch a documentary on it, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Mm-hmm.
diving into
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of expansion in the investigation. So, like, the more you do investigate, it makes you feel better. So you'll read sometimes that a line 1 can be kind of insecure, but then insecurity is just coming from like a lack of knowledge around whatever the area is that they're fascinated in. And once they start getting all the info, it just makes them more magnetic. Um, And if you have a kid that's a one line, they really learn more in the traditional sense. So reading, studying, like they're a good student, they're happy to sit there and read at school. Um, and if you do have a one-line kid, it's important to just encourage their curiosity and let them ask you a million questions and let them research things. And it's important that they have a good solid foundation about a topic to make them feel confident in it. And also, it's important to reassure them that, it's okay not to have all the answers. They don't have to be perfect because they can sometimes feel like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, Chanel, do you resonate with that?
Oh my God, yeah, like 1000%. I am such a one line, you know. Yeah, that's me to a T. I mean, I was interested in astrology and literally devouring astrology books, taking courses, listening to podcasts. Like, I want to know everything about
Yeah.
it, like that's just one example. But I think this shows up in every area of my life, really. Um, and of course, when I'm thinking about this stuff, I'm always thinking about, oh, like how could that show up in my chart? And when you're talking about the one line and you're saying curious, intellectual, wants to read, wants to learn, to me that sounds very Gemini, like
Yeah.
doesn't that like correlate so much to the sign Gemini and that's
Yeah.
traits?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I have a Gemini moon, and
Yeah.
and I think that is how I feel safe and secure, is getting all of that knowledge, is being
Mm-hmm.
curious, is asking questions, is taking in that information. And
Mm-hmm.
so I just think that is so interesting and fascinating. And that's not to say that everyone with a one number is going to have a Gemini moon or even
Right.
Gemini placements in general, but it just resonates very strongly with me. And I think it's interesting how it correlates for sure.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. All right, moving on to the two line. This is called the Hermit, and I do like this name as well. So anybody with the two line, 2-4, 2-5, 5-2, 6-2. And I resonate so much with this line as being a 6-2. These are people who enjoy being homebodies. They need their own space. They love their alone time. And they really have these natural talents, natural things that they just get, that they can pick up really quickly, that they're good at. And unlike the one line, they don't love the learning process, like the traditional learning process. They just kind of naturally click with things. And they kind of already know how to do it. Um, so just let them start doing it, let yourself start doing it. But the two line has this projection field. So they have trouble sometimes recognizing their own talents, but other people can see them like right away, right off the bat. I get this all the time in my life. Someone will be like, "You're really good at X, Y, and Z." You're like, "How did you know how to do that?" I'm like, "I don't know. I just did."
Yeah.
Um, that has come up a lot for me. And if you're a two line, don't feel like you have to explain yourself around the things that you just get. Just like don't feel like you have to offer an explanation. But people can really see you as yourself. Human design describes this two line as like you're hanging out in your house, maybe with the windows open, and you're just doing your thing, and someone's outside watching you, and they're like, wow, she's really good at baking and organizing her house and whatever. And you're just like living your life just normally. You're not thinking about those things.
It just comes so natural to you that you don't
Yes.
think about it. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And the way two lines learn is actually by teaching. So, by teaching the information really starts to solidify it for you. And that's something that has even deepened my learning and understanding with human design and just talking on this podcast. I feel like just me teaching it here and talking about it has even like deepened my understanding of it even more.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that.
And if you have a two-line kid, which Chanel does,
I
and
sure
I
do.
do, we
Yeah.
both have two-line kids,
Yeah.
they're going to naturally shine in areas, that they just pick up. So it's good that they have a lot of unstructured alone time. And when they are learning, like, in school, it's best if you can ask them to teach you something. So, like, teach me how to do this math problem, or like, what was the meaning of this book? Um, and as they start to explain it and teach it, they'll just know, and like it'll just naturally come out.
Wow. Okay. You are like explaining my partner to a T. Like Trevor, he's
Well,
a five
yeah.
two. And like that is just so him, like traditional schooling, like learning is not the way that he learns at all. But
Yeah.
he is so like talented in music because that's just naturally gifted to him.
Hmm.
He works in IT, but he didn't go to school for it. He just like is
Yeah.
naturally like apt for it.
Yes.
Like that's just so, so, so very much him. And definitely the teaching is how you learn. I didn't know that about the two line, but that makes
Yeah.
so much sense.
Yes. So
And
like
yeah,
I've been trying this out with my daughter right now. She's really into puzzles, and I'm like, just show me how to do the puzzle. And she's been doing it, and I'm just like, whoa. So I don't know, test it out with Otto and see like little things, like show me
yeah,
how to make music from this toy, whatever it is.
yeah.
So yeah, it's
Wow.
really cool to witness.
Yeah. And I do think that two lines, you being a two, Trevor being a two, you guys absolutely don't give yourself enough credit.
Yeah, for
Like you said,
sure.
you cannot see your own wisdom.
No.
Yeah.
Like I can to a certain extent, but yeah, it's very, very hard to see your natural talents and to
Mm-hmm.
own them,
Mm-hmm.
to really
Mm-hmm.
own them.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
that's good to know. If you're a two line, I want you to really sit with that for a little bit,
Yeah.
meditate on that a little bit, because that is such a good thing to just have in the back of your mind when maybe
Hmm.
you're being hard on yourself.
Yeah.
Um, and to speak to that two line, how it's very like opposite almost of that one line, which I am.
Yeah.
Trevor has a Sagittarius moon, which is the opposite of a Gemini
Oh
moon,
yeah.
and where Gemini is like, I want the facts, I want the information, I want the knowledge. Sag is like, I'm just going based on my intuition. I am just like doing my own thing. I don't need to like research this. Just going to jump into it and do it.
Yeah.
And that feels very like resonant with his two line. And he not only has a Sag moon, but Mercury, Venus, and the moon all in Sag. So he's very Sagittarius heavy. So
Yeah.
um, I just, again, I can't help but think about the human design chart and astrology
Yeah.
and like just how much they always like mirror each other.
They do. They do so
Um,
much.
yeah. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, and last thing I want to say about it too is like you need your alone time. I need my alone time to recharge, to just recuperate, to relax, to rest. Um, so, and you don't need it all the time. Like, don't go hermit away and be by yourself all the time. You have another number in there. Um, but I'm just saying, recognize when you need rest and take your hermit alone time. It's really
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
Um, all right, let's go to line 3. Now, this one's called the martyr, which I don't resonate with this word at all. My teachers explain it as the explorer slash discoverer, which I think just encapsulates the 3 so much better. And this is anybody, so listen to this if you have a 6 line, anybody with a 3 or a 6, because the 6 line acts as a line 3 until the age of 30. So just want to put that out there. If you have a 6, listen to this one too. So if you're a 1-3, 3-5, 3-6, a 6-3, a 6-2, or a 4-6. And these people are explorers. They love to dive in, experience everything in life. They're adventurers. They love to learn by doing and really getting their hands dirty and just trying it out for themselves. And they just learn by making mistakes, right? So if you can reframe this as there's really no such thing as a mistake, but just learning experiences, um, you can resonate a bit more with that because you just feel like you're always making a mistake. But if you just say, like, this is just a learning experience, what did I learn from this? If you have a 3 line, you can kind of cut yourself some slack there. You're just really, really learning through that trial and error rather than the traditional way that the 1 line learns. And then the 2 being more so natural, you're really someone that needs to get in and like do it yourself. And if you have a 3 line kid, these kids can sometimes cause a bit more trouble or get blamed for things because they can't sit still. It's like they don't want to sit there and read the book. They want to go like tangibly touch something and learn it that way. Um, so sometimes those kids can just get into a little bit more trouble in school. Traditional way of learning isn't best for them. And it's good to normalize trial and error for them, like celebrate what they're learning and avoid punishing them for making mistakes or having failures. That's really essential for a line 3 to not punish them when they make mistakes. And be patient with a line 3. Their path can be sometimes full of different detours, but that's really how they're gaining their wisdom and knowledge. Um,
Oh.
and like the 3 line is someone who like loves to go snowboarding and skiing and will jump off a cliff and go skydiving, like someone who is just wanting to dive into everything. Like I'm what is you only live once, like that's their motto, like I'll go try anything. That is like
Yeah.
such a,
Yeah.
a 3 line. Um
Yeah.
and I just want to say too, if you're a 1-3, that is the only profile that doesn't have an upper trigram number. So if you're a 1-3, you really learn in both of these ways. You learn by investigating and taking in the knowledge, but you also learn by diving in and, trial and error, getting your hands dirty. So just keep that in mind too. Um,
Interesting.
yeah. So anything to add for 3?
I um I feel like I know a lot of 3-5s, like friends that are 3-5s, and they are like literally exactly how you describe them as
Yeah.
like just like wanting to dive into everything, to just experience everything, experience life, and then like learn from that experience,
Mhm.
which is very, very much a 3. And it's also interesting that you say the 6 line acts as a 3 until they're 30. Um, and like, do you resonate with that? Like,
Oh,
do you feel like a difference or like
yes.
being up until you were 30 to like after 30? Yeah.
Yes. I mean, if I just look at my life, like up until 30, like I loved traveling. I loved going places. I loved exploring. Like studying abroad, I jumped off a cliff. Like I was so
Yeah.
much more adventurous. Like I loved going
Yeah, you lived
on.
in France and then you lived in LA and you lived in New York and
Yeah, I
yeah.
moved around a lot of places. Like as a kid, I loved going on roller coasters. Not that you have to be a 3 or 6 to, want to go on a roller coaster, but I would say I was a little bit more fearless.
Yeah.
Um, just with everything. And
Yeah.
like I would be
Yeah.
the person who was like, yeah, like I'll go, like I'm gonna do that. But
Yeah.
definitely once I turned 30, like I definitely pulled more into the 2 line and like just was like, I don't need to go experience things anymore. Like I'm burnt out by it. Like I'd rather just stay at home. I don't want to go out. Like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
definitely resonate with that so, so much.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting. So as I'm raising a little 6'2", so I'm thinking of him as this 3 up until he's 30. So
Yes.
very good to know, I
Yeah.
think, if you're a parent,
Yeah,
like raising your kids, like what are
for
they?
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like he's probably gonna wanna get into things in the house and, you know, be
He
all
already
over the
does,
place.
so we're we're good with there.
Yep. Yeah. So like, like my child is a 2-4. My sister has a 1-3. And she is just so much more reserved than the 1-3, wants to just like run around the room and like touch everything and like throw things and like kick things and like he's really learning through his body. But like my daughter is just more so like with the four line, like she really wants to, you can see she wants to connect with people. And the two really comes out too. Like I can tell she's the two kind can sometimes make you a bit more shy, and just she doesn't
Mhm.
want to explore like he does. So it's really interesting to witness the difference there.
That is interesting.
And one other quick story about the three. My husband's a 3-5. And as a kid, he was put on ADHD medication because like he was so hyper in class and kind of disruptive. So they ended up putting him on that and he just knew, I think he was like 10 or 11. He just knew for himself, like, I'm not taking this. So every day his mom would give it to him and he would just like pretend to take it and then throw it in the bushes on the way to school. And then like the next teacher parent conference, they were like, he's doing so much better and he's like doing so well on this medication. And he's like, I never took the medication, but it's just like he kind of used it as like a placebo effect, like
Yeah.
and it's just so funny that like he was prescribed this medication, but I think that was just such like his three line coming out.
Yeah. He is such a 3-5 too. He
Yeah.
loves doing things.
Yes.
Like he definitely wants to experience everything. That's interesting. I kind of forgot he was a 3-5.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think they can sometimes come off as like fearless people in a way. And the 3-6 too.
Yeah.
Or the 6-3. Okay, so let's move on to the four line. And this is called the opportunist, which I don't really resonate with either. So I like to call this one the intimate friend. And this is anyone with the four line, so 1-4, 2-4, 4-1, or 4-6. And Chanel and I both love four lines. We're
I'm
like
so
jealous of
jealous
them.
of four lines. Okay.
Yeah, me too. Oh, I just love a four line so much. I wish I had a four. Some days, I mean, I do like my 6-2 profile, but some days I'm just like, I wish I had that four. Um, they're
Me
just,
too. Me too.
yeah, they're so warm and cozy and they're here to connect in an intimate way, build intimate connection. They like to have deep conversations. They get to know people pretty quickly. So they're the type that's going to be like, what do you love about your job? Instead of like, what do you do for work? Like they want to know that stuff and get deep with you. Um, they're just naturally gifted at networking, communicating with people. They'll they will just get a new job by connecting with someone, like meeting somebody at a party. Like it's just this natural thing for them. And they actually learn best through connection too. So having a teacher that you love is important as a kid, or being able to connect with somebody while you're working on a project, that's a bit better for a four. And um, they're not designed for, they're not just designed to have like the one-on-one relationship, but they're also here to bring people together. And I just witnessed this so much with the four lines in my life. Like they'll
Yes.
be wanting to bring the whole family together or like integrate their different friend groups and bring everybody together to the same place and have everybody talking and mingling. And I love that about the four line, but I can sometimes witness that the four line can get disappointed if people aren't like all connecting together and getting along. Because the four line doesn't realize that there's these other types that might not have a four line. So it's not as natural for them to connect and talk to people. So I
Yeah.
witness that in my life all of the time.
Yeah. That's so interesting.
Yeah. Um,
Wow.
but they're really meant to bring that closeness to a group gathering and authenticity is really key here for them, so it's important to connect with people in a way that feels really authentic to you. uh, they're the person that like knows when you need a drink of water or is like offering you a blanket, or they just have a bunch of food in their fridge and they whip up like a charcuterie board really quickly. Like they're great hosts and hostesses.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just always feel so comforted and comfortable with a four line. They're just that warm, cozy person.
They are. And what I've noticed about like four-line people that I know is they make friends so easily. They
Yes.
make friends with everybody like wherever they go. It's
Mhm.
just like so natural and easy to them. And like I don't have that same charisma. I don't have that, you know?
Mhm.
And it just like seems so effortless to them. And it's just like so cool. And they really are all about their community and their friendships and their groups. And that's what I saw in this person that I was talking about earlier. I'm like, she has this. Like she has the four line. And that's when I was like, you could just tell. And
Yeah.
I went and I looked up her profile and she was a 6'4", right? Yeah, I think that's profile, right?
4-6.
Or 4'6". Okay.
Yeah.
Um, I'm like, I knew she was a four, you know? And then of course I think about her astrology chart and she actually has her sun and Mercury in the 11th house, which is the
Oh,
house of friendships and community, which is like where she's lights up, you
oh, I
know?
just love that.
Yeah. And I'm like, that makes so much sense, you know?
Hmm.
I know other four lines who have like very strong seventh houses, you know, which is like the house of relationships and other people. It's just like so interesting. But yeah, four lines just make you feel seen, heard. They're very connected that way to other
Yeah.
people. Yeah.
I have a good friend who's a 4-1 and she's a Leo rising. So,
Oh,
like that's just another example. It's just so funny.
yeah.
Um,
Outgoing.
yeah. And so, like I remember I said the 1 and the 4 line are harmonious. So the 1, is investigating, gathering that information just from facts in general, like life in general. And the 4 is investigating through connecting, like they want to know about people. They want to bring people
Mm,
together. So that's where the harmony comes in. Uh,
yeah.
and then 4-line kids, if you have a 4-line kid, you want to prioritize stability in their relationships. They do really well with familiar faces and familiar environments. So, like, make sure they're going around and hanging out with their grandparents if that's available to them, or, have a couple friends that you connect with regularly. That's really helpful for them. And help them build social confidence. They're just naturally going to influence their social circle. And, also they don't have to have 1,000 friends, right? Like quality over quantity with this. Their community really is everything. So if they have a teacher that they don't like, maybe try to get them a different teacher. I know that can be hard, but that could like make or break it for somebody with a 4-line. Like if they
Mm,
really don't like their teacher,
yeah.
better to
Yeah.
not force them.
I could see that. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about the 5-line. And the 5-line is the heretic. Again, like what does that even mean? Call this more the global solutionist. And this is anybody with a 5, so 2-5, 3-5, a 5-1, or a 5-2. So this is Chanel and her 5-line.
Yep.
And they this is about connection too, but instead of the close connection like the 4-line, it's more about global connection or universal connection. And they easily get along with lots of people, and whatever their message is can resonate with a large group of people and different types of people. The things that you're meant to share and teach with the world is more so from a global perspective through universal concepts. And they're good problem solvers, they're good solution finders, they're really good at fixing things, fixing people's problems, or just fixing things around the house, like tangible things, whatever it is. And people are attracted to people with a 5-line. Like they're designed to have almost this like seductive energy about them, and not like in a um intimate
Sexy
way.
way.
Yeah, not that good. That's the word I was looking for. Sexy way. Just like people are drawn to them.
Even
There's
though I
a
am very seductive.
I mean, it can be, but like
I know, I'm
in
just
just
joking.
in general, like people can be attracted to a 5 line, attracted to their energy, attracted to the vibe that they give off. A lot of famous people have a 5 in their profile, which I just find fascinating.
Oh,
Um,
I didn't know.
yes, tons of them. A lot of them are 3 5s. Um, and like they can just attract people into their life by what they have to say because other people are interested in what they have to say. But the 5 line has this projection field. So remember, the 2 also has a projection field. So sometimes it's hard for them to get a sense of like, who am I? If you're not really connected to yourself. And people can project onto you what they want you to be, right? So, um, like people can have this perception of you and see you as something that you don't resonate with or that you don't see yourself. So it can kind of feel out of alignment if someone is like projecting something onto you and wanting something from you, but you're just like, that's not who I am, you know? Um, and so it's really important to use your discernment and authority when you're helping others. Like, do I really want to help this person and help them find a solution and fix it? Because if you don't, then you can kind of start to feel stuck or just like really burnt out if you're continuing to help people without
Mm,
using your strategy and authority here.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And because of that projection field, sometimes it can be like, why doesn't anybody see like the real me, you know?
mm-hmm,
So the best thing to do with that is to journal, reflect, like get really clear on who you are. Um, so you can see when people are projecting onto you and perceive you as something that you're not. Does that make
mm.
sense?
Yes, yes, it does.
Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
I resonate with that, like, really strongly. And I think I resonate especially with being the person that can like fix it and help you and, do it all and figure it out, you know. Um, but sometimes I need to really think about when do I want to do that and when is it not right for me to do that? Because I
right.
can do it, but I can't do it all, And
Yeah.
um that has been something that I think I've gotten a little bit better with age, but like especially in my 20s, like I wanted to fix everything for everybody.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's also important to note, like, ask for support and help if you need it, because sometimes someone with a 5 line can be overlooked and like they're always the person that's supporting you and fixing things and helping you problem solve. But sometimes you can forget, like, I can sometimes forget. My husband's a 3 5. He's so good at coming up with solutions, fixing things, you know, like, what can I do to help? How can I make this easier for you? And sometimes I can forget, like, well, oh, he might need support too in like some area of his life, And I'm just like, oh, yeah, maybe I should check in with that. Like, he's just the one going, like supporting us, making sure, our mental
Yes.
health is good.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh, I resonate with that so much.
Yeah. And I also
Yes.
see it in my dad. My dad's a 3 5 too. And his 5 is more so in like fixing everything, every physical thing around the house. He knows how to do like almost everything, maybe except like electrical work. Like he just put a whole new closet door on Faye's bedroom door. He'll like if my garage door breaks, he'll come over and fix it. Like,
When
oh,
I was
you're
visiting you, I got a flat tire and he like took my car to the shop and got it all fixed for me.
yes. Or like your driveway needs sealed. Like he'll just show up, go to Home Depot, come over to my house, start working on a project, and I'm like, oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, they're so good at fixing. But I know like my dad never wants anything in return. Like he doesn't, especially I think that generation, it's like, I don't need your help. I don't need support. Like I can do everything myself. I got it. So if you're 5 line, like just lean into that and take some time and kind of meditate on it. Like, yes, I'm great at fixing and solving and problem providing solutions for everybody. But like, where do I need some support sometimes? And can I ask for support? And can I actually receive the support?
Ooh, I'm not good at that.
Yeah, that's the last part of it, actually receiving it. I'm not good
Yeah.
at that either, but
Yeah.
um and with a 5 line kid, um it's okay to not let them feel like they have to fix everything, right? Teach them to really discern what's theirs to solve and what's not theirs to solve. If you can help them out with that, I think that'll help later in life as they become older. And celebrate their ability to think practically and help others. But again, remind them to care for themselves too.
Yeah, yeah. I also really resonate with the five, just like being an astrologer and having a message as an astrologer and some like wisdom or insight or knowledge to share around astrology and having sort of like an audience or clients or, people who come to me
Yes,
for that. I think that's very five. Like in the way that I do it, I think it's very five.
yes, yes, absolutely. That's huge five-line energy for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
All right, so let's go on to the sixth line. And this is called the role model. And I do like this term as well for this line. And this is a 3-6, a 4-6, a 6-2, or a 6-3. I'm a 6-2. And the sixth line is more objective. They're more so the teachers, the guides. They have old soul energy. And this is also through connection. So, remember the 4, 5, and 6 is about connection and relationship in some way. But the 6 is more so from like a removed place. They're guiding you, but not in this like intimate connection like the 4, or from like this global perspective of the 5. Like they genuinely care about others' well-being. They want to guide people, they're gifted at connecting with people, but it is really more so from that removed space. And I can say this as this because I am a 6, but what I really can see sometimes and witness in myself is that like a 4 line can feel like warmer, like I don't, if people watch Matilda, I'm gonna maybe age myself, but do you remember that movie Matilda?
Of course, classic.
Like Miss Honey is like the classic like 4 teacher, like so warm.
She's a 4-1 for sure.
You think so?
I don't know.
But
Teacher
like,
gives me like 4-1 kind of.
yeah. So like the like if you were to put a temperature on it, like the 4 is like hot. Like, like they are like this hot intimate connection. The 5 is like a little bit less hot, like I'd say like warm. And then like the 6 line is like can sometimes feel a little bit more colder, I would say. Like they're this like wise professor that like you really admire and you're like, "Whoa, like I wish I had like that knowledge. Like I want to be like them someday." But like they're not offering you that warmth and like connection that like more so a 4 line would.
Like a one-on-one kind of
Yeah, like it's
connection.
not that one-on-one. Like the 6 is just a little bit more cold. And I
Yeah.
witnessed it in myself too. That's why I love the 4 so much because I'm like, I wish I could be warmer like the 4, but sometimes it's just like it's not natural to me.
Yeah. And you know what? Like I know we're kind of saying jokingly, but also not jokingly about the four, but like it really is a practice, I think, of just honoring your own type and your own energy.
Yeah.
Not everyone's meant to be a four, and like, that's okay. I am
Yes.
comfortable being a five, and you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but um, yeah, I get that. And that's not a bad thing.
Right.
That's just the way that you are meant to be, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as I get older, and I'm going to go into this in a second, like I start to resonate more so with teaching from more so an objective way and like being this guide, but like I don't want to get like it like hold your hand with it.
Hmm.
Um yeah, so I really resonate with that. And the sixth line is the only line that moves in phases. So there's 3 parts to this. Ages 0 to 30, first year experimenting and learning, through trial and error, like think the 3 line. And then from ages 30 to 50, human design calls this sitting on the roof. So it's a phase of like distance, observation, pulling back to reflect. And then finally, 50 plus in your later years, you start to like really embody the role model. And not because like you're perfect, but just because you have this lived experience. And
Mm.
It has a 6 line. I will say I don't really subscribe to like the term sitting on the roof. Like again, the languaging is a little bit off here because when I hear that, I think like, what? So like I can't do anything? Like I just sit here and observe, like I can't
Yeah.
do anything else with my life. Like that's what it kind
Yeah.
of sounds like. But um that's that's not what it is. Like if that kind of feels like a box. But it's more so like after 30, you're starting to embody the 6 line more and you're starting to integrate everything that you've learned from the past 30 years. So, you can start guiding people. You don't have to wait till you're 50. Um, and I'm not saying that you have all the answers and like you're this wise sage person, but think of the 3 line as that trial and error period. You're starting to blend the 3 and the 6, like stepping into the role model, like that guide energy, and while you're still learning along the way. Um, but you have this perspective now of being on the roof, and since you have 30 years of experience, like you are able to start to guide. Um,
Mhm.
and really starting to know, who you are and what you like when you turn 30. Like I feel like I spoke about that a little bit ago. Um, and yeah, you don't have to wait to be this like amazing guide until you're 50.
Mhm.
Um, and I'll have to check in and let you know how I feel when I'm 50 and how that has shifted or changed. But I really did feel that shift when I was 30. And just from witnessing like my own mother-in-law, she's a 4/6, and I see that 6 in her so much. Like she actually is a teacher. And in the 4, like she connects so well intimately, but she also has this like wise, old soul, like guiding energy about her as someone who's in her late 60s. I can really see that in her. And 6 line kids, they act as a 3 line. So when like from 0 to 30, so it can be upsetting for them because they naturally have this energy. This is where the harmony comes in with the 3 line,
Mm.
the 6 and the 3.
Yes.
Um, but it's important to help them reframe it again, like it's just a learning experience, or like even saying like thank you for teaching me to a line 6. And with a 6 kid, just remember that their life is in those 3 phases. So, let them have that trial and error period and know that like they might want to be a little bit quieter and reserved and retreat from 30 to 50. Be patient with the early bumps when they're a kid. Um, and they're really wise beyond their years, a 6. Like they are wise old soul energy. And you want to give them space to observe and come to their own conclusions. And with a 6 has a lot of integrity. So if you can model integrity and authenticity, they are watching everything that you do. The 6, you know?
Uh,
Um, so I want to touch on the 4/6 profile too, since like the 1/3 is the only one that is in the lower trigram. Every single profile has a number in the lower trigram and the upper trigram, except the 1/3 and the 4/6 has those two numbers in the upper.
mhm.
And like the 4/6 has these two polarities of really wanting to connect in an intimate way, but also in a removed and objective way, right? So like they have that connection there, but it's in two different ways. So this is a really good example of like balancing the two profiles. And as a 4/6, you're both. You like doing both of these things. So you can feel like indecisive, like, should I jump in and really connect in an intimate way, or should I guide from more of a removed position? So it's just about like using your strategy and authority and like navigating what actually feels right in the moment.
Yeah. That's
So
so interesting. Is it fair to say that like fours make uh, I'm trying to kind of organize this in my brain. And I don't know if this is fair or not, but this is the way I'm thinking about it. Like fours make a super big impact on creating like one-on-one intimate connections. Five is a little bit more removed, right? You have a little bit like wider of an audience or an impact. Like you don't have the same energy as that four to make just those like one-on-one impacts. And then the six is even like, you know, more removed than the five, is that
Yes.
they're really here to maybe guide larger groups of
Yeah.
people in that way. Is that
Yeah.
fair?
Yeah, I'd say that's fair to say, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why, like, when I think of the six, and you mentioned this earlier too, it's like you kind of think of like this professor vibe, or maybe
Yeah.
like spiritual guide, or um, someone that kind of like has that energy of like guiding larger groups of people.
Yeah. Like
Like a
Tony,
professor doesn't have the time to like sit with you individually to
right.
like connect with,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Like Tony Robbins is a six too.
Oh,
Like,
perfect example.
yeah, just like such an embodiment of that. And
Yeah.
like the two, like he's so natural at what he does. And like he naturally like went through adversity, had a really tough upbringing and like lived through all, and now I'm going to the sixth line, but like lived through all of that experience and then started to integrate it. And now he's like this wise old soul teacher of so many different people and really relates to different
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. Oh, wow. It's so fascinating. That's
Yeah.
really fascinating. Yeah.
And I
And
mean,
I think it's also interesting how it kind of like the 30 and like 50 plus correlates with both of your Saturn returns. Like you're like
yes.
around 30 is the first Saturn return, and then 28 to 30, and then like around like, 58, 50, maybe a little bit earlier, sometimes a little bit later is your second Saturn return.
Yeah. And human design also brings in Chiron to it, like around 50 is your Chiron return.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, so that's why I think that's why they go off of it as 50,
So
like starting
interesting.
at 50. Yeah. So anything else to add about the lines? I have a couple celebrity examples,
Yeah,
but
I'd love to get into that.
okay. So Oprah, you want to guess? Do you know what Oprah is?
Sixth. She's got to be a six or
She's
five.
she's a 2-4.
No way. Okay,
Yeah.
four, I totally see the four, actually.
Yes. And like
Um,
she's in, go ahead.
no, I'm just processing that. That's so interesting.
Yeah, but like you can see like how her two line, like her gifts really unfolded naturally. Like I think she was invited to have her first talk show, like it wasn't something she just like went out and wanted to do. Like her gifts were naturally seen by other people.
Mm,
Um, and then like she connects like so much through that like safety and support of that four line, building relationships. So she's a really good example of like when a 2-4 is really seen and supported, like she created this huge, huge company movement connection, bringing people together. So she's a really good
yeah.
example.
Um, yeah, I mean, like she has a way of really connecting with people, like I think like on an individual one-on-one level, right? Because she's having these people, like individual people come to her
Yeah.
on her on her talk show. Um, which is interesting because that's like I was thinking six initially because it's like, oh, she has such a like big platform, but
Yeah.
she does that through connecting individually, right? And
Yeah.
what's interesting about Oprah's chart is fascinating, and she has a Venus cazimi,
Mm,
which, if you don't know what that is, it's when a planet is directly like within 1 degree of the sun in the birth chart, and it makes that the sun and that planet are kind of it makes the expression of that planet very strong in a
hmm
very positive way. But if it's more than 1 degree, it's burnt up in the rays of the sun. But if it's within that 1 degree, the qualities of that sign are extremely enhanced. And she has that Venus element, which is connection, bringing people
Yeah.
together, harmony, um, which is such a four thing, I think,
hmm
you know?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, super interesting.
Yeah. And then Princess Diana, she was a 1-3. And I see the three just come through so big here. And like, remember, the second number is how we see others a bit more.
Yeah.
But I was just looking her up because I didn't know much about the one, but she was actually known to like study and observe and like quietly absorb things before stepping into the spotlight. I didn't know that.
Mm.
Um, but the three comes through so clearly. Like she did get in trouble. She was always like discovering and exploring, and like you can see her like kind of just getting in with her hands and kind of trial and erroring around, and like she did get in trouble by like the royalty rules or whatever was going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that three line I feel like really comes through for her.
So interesting.
Yeah. Um, and then Martha Stewart, I think is such a hilarious example. She's a 4-6. So, like, talk about like a four, like, okay, I guess we're talking about a four a lot, but like, she's just like has this warmth of the four through her brand and everything that she does. Like, you want to ask her for advice about like your Thanksgiving turkey and your home reno.
Yeah.
Um, and just like her consistent presence on TV and magazines and like everywhere. It's just like you feel like you're like part of Martha Stewart living.
Mm.
Um, and then with her
And she's such a
six,
good host, right? Like that's
yes,
her whole thing. It's like
exactly.
a host, which is very much a
Yes.
four energy. Yeah.
Yeah, and then if you think of her six line, like she's a pretty good example of this. Like in her early years, and like you can watch her documentary on Netflix. That's a really good one. But like in her early years, she was more so experimenting and observing and kind of starting to like embody that wisdom. And then like during her sitting on the roof phase, or maybe it was after that, but she did have that like rise and fall. Like she went to prison, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and then, now she's just kind of embodying that classic six line energy of like still guiding and like doing this show with Snoop Dogg and like, everything that she did.
Yeah.
Um, and then let's see, some famous 3-5s. You know how I mentioned a lot of fives are famous.
Yeah.
Um, Julia Roberts, Kate Winslet, Angelina Jolie, Kirsten Dunst, George Clooney, Tom Hanks, like they're all 3-5s.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, so, celebrities, I think a lot we can project onto them, have this perception of like who we think they are, right? So like there's so many famous celebrities. Taylor Swift is a 5-1. Um, so that five line just, comes through there. And like their charisma, these celebrities, like it comes from being like relatable humans. And I feel like a lot of them do have trial and error periods with these celebrities I just talked about, with the 3-5, like making
Yeah.
mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, it's just fun to watch them and like even project onto them like what you feel like you think they are.
Yeah, which is probably why they are such good celebrities,
Yeah.
because people do project what they want to see in them onto them, which
Yep.
makes them popular because they're, I guess, maybe appealing to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So those are the 12 or the six lines.
That's so
Um,
interesting. Okay,
yeah.
this is fascinating. Like, I love this. Um, like go before you look up all of your like friends and family, like try to guess what you think they are. Like I think that's so fun.
Yeah.
Um and it's just so accurate. Like it's so interesting. And again, like I said, the more I understand about human design, the more I'm like, oh my God, this makes so much sense for me. And this also makes so much sense for, the people that I love. And it also helps you just understand them better and understand what they need. I love that you added in like kids with those lines because it's, with the profile lines, it relates to so much about how you learn, and just knowing that about your child is so helpful. you know.
Yeah.
Um, it's so cool. It's just fascinating. So thank you for doing this episode upon my request, Sydney. I love
Yeah.
it. So interesting.
Yeah. And last thing to say is that, the numbers come together in different ways. So like there's 12 different combinations. You could be a 2-5 or a 5-2, for example. So you have both
Mhm.
numbers. They're pretty similar, but like they come together in different ways. So there's different nuances with them. It's so fun to talk about in a reading. It's so fun to like go deep into your profile type or your profile numbers and your type. Um, so if you're curious, yes, go look up everybody you know's charts. And another great way to dive into it is by getting a reading. So if you want to
Yes.
learn more about that, you can book a reading. You can go to our website and easily do that. Um,
Yes. You should definitely book a reading with Sydney. She's amazing. Helped me understand myself so much better.
mhm. And as always, please rate and review us if you've enjoyed this episode. We would love that. If you can give us 5 stars, and if you're on Apple or YouTube, you can write something up if you want. If you feel
Yes, please
called.
do. It would mean a lot for us to get this podcast out to other people who might enjoy it.
Yeah. So we will catch you guys next time.
Thanks so much. Bye.